Can't hear you. I know. Should I use the hand?
I got you this in case I need to walk around.
Okay. No, I understand. The Lord be with you. Let us pray for a moment. Dear Lord, thank you for this day of celebration and having everyone come together. And we are so thankful for what we've learned about each other and ourselves, and our desire to lean into our relationship with Christ during this transition process. Our best days are ahead of us, and we're going to continue to build relationships with one another and support our new rector as she begins her new ministry in just a few months. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. Good morning. Good morning. I'm thinking I'm supposed to use this one. So this is a day that I think many have been waiting for quite a while. I count myself among that group. And so I'm going to start out because I know the choir does have to leave, so I'm going to move as quickly as I can. But there are a few things that I wanted to start out this morning, and that is where we've been. And it can be, probably it seems like, a mishmash of different milestones and things that we've been through as a community over the last nearly 2 years. It was in October when Justin came to me and a few others and said that he thought he might be heading back home to Florida. So this is right at 2 years ago from when that occurred. So he left us January 23rd to begin his ministry in Florida. And that's when our search for the interim rector began. And then, I don't know if you recall, but we had a candidate for interim rector that was all lined up and was going to start in March. And then right at the end, he had a change of heart in his family and some circumstances, and he could not. So we had to begin that process again. And so then Reverend Ann joined us in June of 2022. So we had a 5 or 6 month gap there. And then in August is when we started doing some of our pre-search. The summer was upon us, so it was difficult, and we lost some time there getting that process going. And then things really started to accelerate in the fall of 22. Our profile committee was formed in October, about a year ago. They did their work expeditiously and talked to so many members here at the parish in different groups. So many of you responded to surveys, and I think we put together, and we're going to revisit it a little bit, I thought we put together a wonderful story in our profile about who we are and where we wanted to be and who we wanted to become. And then in January, we approved that profile, and we commissioned the search committee. That search committee underwent their diocesan training in March. They received their first candidates in May. In August, they had a lone finalist. And in September, the vestry made the decision to call the rector. So I know that much of this process occurs out of sight and out of conversations, and I know that can be difficult. So I want to thank you now for your patience and your understanding as we've been moving through this, as it's a confidential process, as there's not a lot we can share as we're going through. But I'm really proud of all the folks that participated in this, and really that's everyone. One thing I will say about the confidentiality piece, and that is just because the process is complete, the confidentiality remains the same. So I would encourage everyone not to ask the search committee or the vestry a ton of questions about what went on and how many candidates and who were they and who was the runner-up and who was this and who was that. That all still remains confidential. So from this day forward, we are doing just that. We are looking forward. And so I just encourage everyone to be respectful, because I know folks on the committee can feel like they're the keeper of information. And as people continue to ask questions, that can be an uncomfortable moment. So let us just join, move forward, and celebrate our new rector that is coming to visit us, right? We are a team of teams. There are a lot of folks that played a role in this. I just want them to stand up just briefly as we do this. First of all, our profile committee, we had Maria, Katie, Peggy, Brad, Jim, and Paul. Are they in the room? I've seen most of them. There's Brad, there's Paul. Did a really fantastic job. I got many compliments from the diocese, and every time we went back to that, because I can tell you the search committee and the vestry went back to that profile time and time again as a litmus test for who we were searching for and why we were searching for them in general. So really wonderful work by all of you. Thank you. And then our search committee, Jane Ellen Carter, Caroline Cook, Lindsay Crawford, Michael DeShulo, Jan Dugan, Mike Mahaffey, Amanda Masterson, Jim Smith, Robin Thomas, Lene Wilsey, and Amy Yates. I want them to stand up a while. Keep standing, keep standing. Lene, you can move forward. Come up here. Lene, move up here so they can see. So keep standing up. Amanda, stand up. Robin, stand up. So these folks dedicated much of their summer and their travel schedules to get together, interview, travel, have meaningful, deep conversations, and I just can't thank them enough. They did a great job. So Jim, you're back there hiding too. So another round of applause for our search committee. And then our vestry members, and there's a lot of folks on this list because there are 3 rounds of vestry folks that were involved and impacted by this transition. So we have our current vestry. You see your names there. If your current vestry will stand up, and then folks that were with us in the previous 2 vestries. Go ahead, Austin, stand up. Yep. So Ron Cristobal, Christy Diver, Pat Harrison, Thomas Hutcherson, Jim Rollins, Kelly Sosa, or Mary Weber. If any of those folks are here, I want them to stand as well. From the moment that we found out that we were going to go through a transition in the rector position, each vestry had an important role to play, whether it was preparing for the interim search, whether it was getting us through that first year, we were figuring out what we were doing, and then lastly, this last vestry where we had the task of actually making the call of the candidate. So thank you to all the vestry folks. Really appreciate it. And then our ministry leaders, whether it is the Altar Guild, whether it's the Flower Ministry, acolytes, ushers, youth, whatever it is that you've done as a ministry leader. If you're a ministry leader or involved in a ministry, thank you so much for everything that you've done to kind of get us through this gap that we had in this transition time. I think, I know we would not have had near the success that we've had in this time if it wasn't for the dedication of you folks. So thank you very much for continuing your work. We have our lay staff. I see Nancy, Mikey, Barbara, Lorianne, Anne's here. Is Barbara still in the room? Jacob. So we have to do this one loud because, there's Barbara. So I don't know who's in here or not. So I can tell you this has not been an easy process for the staff. The first 6 months of this process, they didn't have a clergy leader and they were reliant on me, which is unfortunate. And so from the beginning, they had a pretty significant challenge. So heartfelt thanks to all of the staff for what they've done and continue to do, and really appreciate your patience and your understanding as we go through this process. So thank you. Much of our supply clergy, and we didn't have a ton of it, and that's because Father Mike did us a huge solid and hung out here for a couple of months and gave us Father Mike 2.0. And whenever you see him or you have his number or Father Parker, send him a note and tell them thanks and how much we appreciate what they did. They did that free of charge. So that's something they gave back to St. Luke's over time. And so it really was an incredible act of service for them. So please reach out and say thank you. So I know they're not here, but let's thank Father Mike and Father Parker. And then we have Reverend Ann McLemore, whose ministry will be ending over the coming weeks. Where there's a few things we're going to talk about later on and share what her timeline is going to be. It has been a great opportunity to get to know Ann, and I say truly like family. She knows all of the best and worst parts about me, and she continues to call me and take my calls and work with me, and I really appreciate her. She is, this is her last stop on her ministry training, right, Ann? So when we say goodbye to Ann this year, she is retiring, and she is moving to Atlanta, or the Atlanta area, to be closer to family. And so we will send her off in an appropriate way after more than 2 decades of service. So Reverend Ann, we will celebrate you soon. And then all of you, and I'm watching my time fire, and to our St. Luke's family. So every Sunday showing up, we have managed to maintain strong giving, strong attendance, strong participation in many of our programs. Thank you very much for continuing to support St. Luke's and what we are trying to do here as a community. So just my personal thanks to you. Congratulations on a job well done for the last 18 months. So I really appreciate all of you very much. A couple of reminders about the rector that we saw, because this is what drove the entire process. And that is, we wanted someone, and it's a daunting task. We wanted someone with the gift of the Holy Spirit. We wanted someone with the gift of preaching and teaching. We wanted someone with the gift of building community. We wanted the gift of pastoral care. Jan Dugan, well, and I'll go to the next slide and I'll go back. Someone demonstrates excellence, and I can't see my own screen, as a preacher connecting with others. Strong formal education and training, previous success in a parish of similar size and structure, demonstrated experience of working with lay-led congregation, evidence of previous success in pastoral care is indispensable. Jan, we were starting the process, and he goes, I'm looking through all my information. He goes, I'm looking for Jesus Jr. is what he said. And I don't think that's breaking confidentiality. That was a side note. That was a joke. And I can tell you all of these things are important, and I think have absolutely reflected who we are as a community. And I'm going to go back to the gifts that we wanted to see, and I'm going to focus on 2 of those. That's the gift of the Holy Spirit and the gift of building community. As we went through the profile, everything that we talked about and everything that we did and everything that we heard from the community really came back to those 2 pieces. We wanted someone who was in a evident and deeply spiritual relationship with Christ, and we wanted someone who absolutely could connect with anyone in our parish, whether they are 6, 16, 36, or 66, or 96. And that is not an easy task to find. And we also wanted someone who wasn't coming here to learn how to lead a team. We wanted someone to come in and join us and hit the ground running. So they needed strong experience and both formal training and also real life on the ground experience. And as we talked about from the very beginning when we started this process, we wanted someone who was going to deeply invest in us. Because if you remember, we decided a long time ago, 2 years ago almost, rectors are going to come and go. This one too. Someone else will be standing up here years from now, and we'll be celebrating the end of Kathy's ministry. That is the way this is going to go. And so lay-led ministry and someone who's going to invest in all of us to help us become leaders and empower us to lead ministry, that's how we continue to grow and be sustainable. And I think we found that. And it is Reverend Kathy Pfister. So I will try to supplement your Google searches since my email went out. So please correct me if I'm wrong, if I missed something. This is Kathy. I will tell you the demeanor that you see here is literally every interaction we ever had with her. I think she's a wonderful human, which is really nice. So let's talk about our education. I've been thinking about what what we wanted. She has a BS in psychology from American University. That is where she sort of cut her teeth. She had no interest in following a call into the ministry at all. Then she went on to the Seminary of the Southwest and received her Master's of Divinity. And then she has many other certifications. Some of these are secular, some are tied to the Episcopal Church. She's a learner. She's a lifelong learner. When she sees an opportunity, she seeks it out, and she continues to grow as a professional. When you look at her history of her ministry, she started out at Trinity Church in New Orleans. And this is where her BS in psychology really came into play, because she was working at a home for young women who had experienced really terrible trauma in their lives. And she was working at that facility, and she was tasked with really helping these young women through these experiences in their life and sort of recovering and getting back into their regular life, if you will. When she applied for the job at Trinity Church, she said if they would have named it a youth minister, she never would have applied. But they called her the youth director because, again, she had no interest in the ministry. And a friend of hers who was involved with Trinity Church said, "You're perfect for this. You got to come try this out." And so she did. And she was there for 6 years. And so she fell in love with the ministry. She fell in love with working with youth. And really, I think that pastoral piece that we were looking for, she has a deep understanding of how to help people and guide them through some really challenging times in their lives. She then went on to the Diocese of North Carolina and was on the diocesan staff there, overseeing youth programs, camp, conferences, all those things. She was on the staff of Bishop Curry in North Carolina. And so she has a great deal of experience working at both the parish level and the diocesan level. She then came back to Austin, and she was at the Church of the Good Shepherd here, a large church in West Austin. She was the senior associate rector, and she pretty much oversaw all the clergy and all of the programming that went on at Good Shepherd for 5 years. And so then Good Shepherd had an idea where they wanted to plant their own church, not the diocese planting a new church, but Good Shepherd had some land in East Austin, and they planted a brand new church called The Hill. And Kathy was tapped to be the vicar of that church. So she went out and she planted that church, and she essentially was the priest in charge of that parish. And she learned many lessons from that experience about how to give back to the community, what to expect from that, how to invest in others. And she only had one other staff person, so that entire operation was completely lay-led. And so she built tons of systems around volunteer training, volunteer expectations, how to support volunteers in doing the work, accountability systems. She built that entire process from the ground up, which we think is something that will be very beneficial to us. And then she was called to Christ Church Cathedral in Houston, where she was the canon vicar and chief program officer for the last 3 years. Also, the dean of the cathedral became ill while she's been there, and she was the priest in charge at the cathedral for quite some time while the dean was recovering from his illness. There she oversaw, I believe, 9 clergy. Is that right? I think it's 9. And again, all of the programmatic activities of the cathedral. She is deeply knowledgeable about systems and how to make a parish run. And I think one of the most important things that we saw in each of these places is that Kathy saw growth in every stop that she made. Not moral victories. More people engaged in the work of creating disciples. And you'll hear her say that a lot about being focused on creating disciples. She has a proven track record of bringing people in, raising them up, and exponentially growing the impact that those volunteers can make. And that's something that we're most excited about. Any questions about or comments about her education or experience? Awesome. Inquire, you can leave whenever you're ready. I don't see Dawn, but whenever you need to go, I'm not holding you hostage. So this is her husband, Phil, and their 2 dogs. They will be joining us on December the 3rd. They're going to be moving to Austin about a month before then. They're going to rent for a while somewhere here near the church, and so they'll be getting settled. Phil and Kathy do have 2 children. They have a son and a daughter. Their son just finished up school. He's actually studying to be a funeral director. And he just finished that up, and he is applying for internships, apprenticeships. You have to go through a process for that. So he could be in the Austin area. He doesn't know yet. He is applying for jobs in the Houston area and here. And then they also have a daughter who is a junior at Swanee. And so they just moved her back to school. She's a communications major. And so she won't be joining us as often, but she definitely will be around and you'll be able to meet her. Phil, in their previous set, because they have lived in Austin before, they have lots of friends that have a pretty big network of folks that they know here in the Austin area. Phil worked for KVU, the ABC TV station here in Austin. And as the Holy Spirit continued to work in this entire process, he made a call to KVU and said, hey, it's looking like maybe we're going to be moving back to Austin. And they say, great, why don't you come on back? So he starts next week. So he's moving early and he's going to stay with friends. And so he has already found a job here. And so he's going to be able to do some work and find him a place to live and those kinds of things. Phil is a musician and a cook. And he is very much, he'll be active in the church. They'll be a family that's with us each and every Sunday. And they are dog people, so that is a good thing. I know. So that is excellent news for all of us. I also wanted to remind us, and I'm going to read this out loud, and I can't sit on my screen, so I have to turn around, because this is really important. Whether a rector, we hope to expand our membership and the support we provide to the community at large. We seek to become a growing community of Christ's light in the world. We welcome newcomers with open arms, and we wish to actively seek new ways to engage them in our church family. We look forward to building our ministries and ministry leaders in ways most needed by our parish and our community. We wish to better engage our youth in our liturgies, ministry, and the community. It is St. Luke's on the Lake's goal to be a place where people may come and experience God's love in a very real and tangible way. We want to support the spiritual growth of our members and our community. We look to become a haven for all and a place that is alive with the joy of the young, the old, and all those in between. So this was the work of you all. This was the work of what we said we wanted to be. This was in our profile. So I just want to prepare everyone that this is the story we told. We didn't make up our own story. That's the story we told every candidate that we talked to, that this is who we want to become and this is who we want to be with each other. And the reason I say that is there's some interesting phrases in here. We want to expand. We want to become a growing community. We want to actively seek new ways and build not just how we've built before, but build in the ways that are needed by our parish and our community. We want to better engage our youth. We want to become a haven for all. That's inherently saying we sort of think we have work to do. Am I right? So there's something funny about churches. And so I want to remind everyone, and if you can't see it, it says there's only 2 things I don't like: change and the way things are. This is not the end. This is the beginning. Today is the beginning. There's lots of change coming. We did not seek a rector to come in and do the same old thing we've always done. That was not the conversation at all. Kathy's strength is in her vision and her ability to innovate and connect with people in new ways that maybe we haven't before. Different kinds of worship, different kinds of programming, different approaches to maybe groups within the church that maybe have felt disconnected in the past. It's gonna feel different. Change is a coming. And I need everybody to step up and be okay with that. Doesn't mean you agree with everything. I don't think there was any sort of moment in this entire process where everybody said, lockstep, yeah, we agree 100% with everything this person said. What we know is that we built some trust. And looking back on Kathy's record and her experience, she's done really good stuff. She's made a huge impact everywhere that she's been. So some things that I'm asking for everyone and how you can support our vision, not hers, because we also made it clear she was coming to join us. We're not here to become the Kathy fan club, and we're not here to be groupies of the new rector. We're here because she has shown, or she's coming because she has shown great experience in empowering all of us to maximize our own potential in growing disciples for Christ. So things that we can do, active participation. When you get that email from Barbara every week, don't trash it, don't ignore it, read it. Choose something to attend. Show up, help out when you can, whenever possible. Show up and be present. It matters not just because we can say, oh, this many people are here. It matters to everyone who's participating in that program. Don't shortchange the impact that you specifically can have by showing up and engaging with others in a 5-minute conversation. Really, really important. Give a prayerful response to our annual giving campaign. Ann started talking about stewardship last week. You're going to hear more of it over the coming weeks. It's going to be a little bit different timeline than what we're accustomed to. We're going to push it a little to coincide a bit with Kathy's arrival. So you're going to hear about it a little bit longer than usual this year. But this is important. When our transition started, we were on the cusp of some change, and we were working to get back to a two-clergy model, which had always been the history here at St. Luke's. And so I don't know what that looks like exactly, but we're gonna continue to grow and structure ourselves in a way that meets the needs of people in our parish. And so part of that is how we support the church financially. So I ask you to really be prayerful this year about how you support our stewardship campaign. I want you to commit to relationships. We were at the men's retreat, was that 2 weeks ago? Where's mine? 2 weeks ago. And, and I had to say to myself, because the men were really focused, the conversation was around how do we grow? And what I shared with them is, at the time, everyone we had talked to in the process, in the search process, there was a similar thing. And growth was always secondary. Relationships was always primary. We can't go into any situation looking to just grab 5 new people off the street. But when they get here, they have to be able to see and feel that each of us are deeply connected with one another and care about one another, and they're joining a place that has that energy of a family and a community. And so the best thing that we can all do to attract new people is to invest in each other, even people you may not particularly like or care for. Find out why, right? Find out what those differences are. And I had to tell them myself, because we were talking about there weren't as many men to retreat this year. And we were talking about mentoring men in the church and how to get them involved and whatever. And I had to raise my hand. I said, well, here's the deal. I was like, we sit in the same place every week, right? Except last week, because my mother-in-law sat in the wrong pew. I'm not going to get into that. It started a whole cascading effect. Everybody was off. People were in the front and the back, and it was awkward. It was terrible. Anyway, and there was a family, and they were there, and I passed the peace with them, and I passed the peace with them for probably, 2 years. And I'm going to be really honest. Sometimes I remember all of their names, and sometimes I don't. They don't wear name tags. I don't even know if they have name tags. I have no idea. It's not the point. But the point is, I've never tapped him on the shoulder and said, hey, I'm going out to the men's retreat this weekend. Have you thought about going out there? I didn't say it, not once. So it's not that I'm standing up here saying that I'm sort of immune to this way of behavior, which is being really, really nice to people, but not actually asking to join me to do anything. And so I think we have to, when we say commit to relationships, we have to more deeply commit to active relationships and not just passing the peace and telling them their kids look pretty and wishing them a good week. So it's a little bit of a step forward. And so I encourage all of us Can you do that? I don't know if you remember when we started this process, we talked about the 5-second rule. Do you remember that at all? It was that the 5-second rule is if you ever find yourself in a difficult situation, if you just count to 5, more times than not, your response will be much improved. And maybe you won't even respond at all, even though you thought you were going to react, right? If you just count to 5, you wait 5 seconds, things improve almost immediately. But the inverse of that is always true. If you get the little tap on the shoulder and you're like, hey, I'm thinking about somebody in your mind, I should text them. Or if you see somebody in church, like the guy in front of me, and I'm like, I should probably ask him, I should just ask him his name. That's what I should do, right? Could you tell me your name again? We sit here and pass this all the time. The inverse of that is if you wait 5 seconds before you do it, you won't do it. You won't do it. Life happens, somebody else walks up to you, you get in your car, I'll do it when I get home, and then you get home and the dog's made a mess and you have to unload the groceries or whatever it is. So I think back to the 5-second rule. When you have that moment where you want to connect with someone, don't wait 5 seconds. Send the text message, send the email, say the nice thing, introduce yourself. The 5 seconds is so critically important both ways. Say yes when possible. There's going to be a lot of asks right now. We're looking for people to serve on the vestry. We're looking for people to be council delegates. I can tell you when Kathy arrives, there is going to be a lot of opportunity to say yes, because she's going to immediately begin building systems and structures. And I know life is incredibly busy, but if you can find a way to a yes, get there. And maybe it's not exactly what you're being asked to do, but don't just say no and walk away. Say, you know what, I can't do that, but here's something I could do. Is there something going on where I can help in this way? So we all need to find a way to say yes when possible. And we just need to keep being who we are. We did not sell Kathy a bill of goods. She knows exactly who we are. She knows exactly sort of what our struggles are. She knows where we want to be. We leaned into the profile. So we don't have to change who we are. She's coming because of who we are. So we have to just keep doing that and doing more of it, and then leaning on her for guidance as we continue to want to grow. So that is all I have. So December 3rd will be her first Sunday, and I'll keep everybody updated. I'm assuming we'll do a few informal things before she gets here to make her and her family feel welcome in Austin. And then I can tell you, we'll be reaching out to form the transition team to help be sort of a sounding board for her as she begins her ministry here. And also, we're going to be putting together lots of small group opportunities for she wants to meet, over the first 90 days, she wants to meet every family in the parish in some kind of small group setting. So it could be dinners in people's homes, it could be at a park, so in the winters that could be tough, wherever it is, but everyone's going to have the opportunity to engage with her in a small group setting. So just know that's coming, and we'll try to get that worked out. And so many of you may be asked to host or attend, and I hope you will do so. Anne, you were going to say something.
I just want to thank you for being senior warden, because it's really difficult when you're senior warden and all of a sudden the rector taps you and just says, guess what, I'm leaving. And that'll all fall right on those shoulders immediately with all kinds of responsibilities. So, as Darren mentioned, that there's a couple little shifts in the path, but I think that you need to really thank your senior wardens for hanging in there and being on top of things and carrying this through, because that timetable that you showed you is one of the fastest timetables, even though it may seem to you considerably very slow. It's actually kept everybody on task. So thank you very much for all that you've done.
So I will wrap that up and open up for questions. If people have questions that maybe we didn't cover, I cannot wait for you to meet Kathy. I think she will be impressive. I think that she will find her to be kind and warm and authentic. And I will tell you, when we were visiting with her, when someone on the search committee is going to help me, there was a question that was something like, what do you need to be successful here? Something like that. And it was interesting because her response wasn't financial, it wasn't programmatic. She goes, I just need a place where I can be me and you'll love my family. That was it. And so I think we're all confident that that's something we're good at. So we feel like it's a great match. And so I think you'll enjoy getting to know her and all the positive things that come from it. So any questions? And then there's some more breakfast back there. Mike.
Well, I have a question that I do want to share something.
Mike, I'm going to ask you to use the microphone.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just want to share one thing. Lindsay Crawford is not here today, but when you see her, give her a big dose of thanks.
Yes.
She worked her, you know what, off to keep this process. She did the logistics, all the really dirty work of making all the, Zoom meetings and, Excel spreadsheets and blah, 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 keeping the calendar, we're figuring out between all of our schedules, how kept all this together. She was really the hero of this search process. So be sure to thank her. The congregation owes her a big debt.
Absolutely. They're being parents this weekend in Lubbock, Parents Weekend, but she's not with us. Any other questions? One thing I will say, and there was lots of conversation in the beginning, just so you know, the diocese was incredibly supportive throughout this entire process. Was it perfect? No, we weren't perfect, they weren't perfect, but I can tell you that as far as a partner in the process, I had sort of these ideas of what it could be like based on a lot of things I was hearing. It was a great experience. So I think Reverend Clara Johnson is probably going to be with us over some point between now and when Kathy gets here shortly after. Say thank you to her. She has, I was just on the website last night, I was looking at how many churches are now in the search process, and it is like double what it was when we started, right? And so she's tasked with all of those different searches. So when you see her, or if you want to send her a note, and also Canon Falstick, the Canon of the Ordinary, incredibly helpful to us throughout this entire process. So I think it's the beginning of a renewed relationship with the diocese. It was a great experience. Okay, well then there's more breakfast back there. And thank you, the vestry and the search committee provided all of the goodies this morning. So thank you all for bringing food. And we have a bit of a unique service upstairs at 10:15, so you have plenty of time to get some more food and then be up there ready to go.